Kia ora, I'm Whelan from The Wireless, and for those of you that don't know, The Wireless is Radio New Zealand's website for younger New Zealanders. We define younger New Zealanders as around 18 to 30, so Erin, you're fine. I, on the other hand, am not. So I'm a little bit nervous about talking about younger people, but we'll go. One of the reasons that we talk about younger New Zealanders as a block, as Erin pointed out, is that the problem becomes this. This is a Stuff Nation comment, and you probably can't read it down the back, and most of the people in the room are going to scoff because it's Stuff Nation. But this is how young people see themselves represented in the media a lot of the time. It's basically like, if you voted using Facebook likes, then more young people would bother. But they're all stupid, and they're going to regret that later. This is the problem of how we talk about young people. What we're trying to do with The Wireless is we never use the word youth if we can possibly avoid it, because youth is almost always followed by crime, by offending, by violence, by apathy, by all of those words. And as Erin pointed out, young people aren't one homogenous group. Some of them are incredibly engaged, some of them are not engaged, and finding both of those groups is incredibly difficult. The other part of it is how to represent information to them. We have the internet now, and that gives us a lot of new ways to present information. With absolutely no disrespect meant to the New Zealand Parliament website, on the right is how they tell us how a law is made. What we did is took that, put it on a page with an infographic that has really simple information, really simple design. It was on a page with almost all of the same information from Parliament's website, written in a slightly different tone, in a slightly different way, and a radio documentary made by one of our Radio New Zealand's gallery staff. There was a whole bunch of ways there to figure out and to make it incredibly accessible to find out how a bill becomes law. And we're going to try and do a lot more of this before the election. Another way to do it is with this. And this is probably our most shared thing that has come up. Will it play? Because what we try to do is tell young New Zealanders stories in their own voices.
Everything that is coming from the top is too slow and is too disengaged. So I think, the community here is essential to getting by. Out of that has grown this sense of people realising there's a lot of value in helping others.
I think the only reason I did stay was because of the earthquakes, because I think it's now a more exciting place to be. For me personally, the city is better now and more engaging now than it was before the earthquakes.
And it was a beautiful video about the Christchurch rebuild, about young people in Christchurch and how they felt about the rebuild and how there was a lot more opportunities now, which is a very different story than what you generally hear about young people. And so what we try to do is ask young people what they want to hear about, because so much of our media and so much of our discourse is about telling young people what they should think. So we try to ask them. So we went to Twitter, and I'll come back to Twitter, but we went to Twitter and asked them what they cared about leading into this election. This is a few months ago now. And I think the responses to this tweet would surprise that person on the first slide, because it was evidence-based policy. It was what's happening in the Christchurch rebuild. It was climate change and a whole bunch of really serious political issues that actually had nothing to do with the things we generally think of as young people's issues. When we first launched, we did a survey with Comar Brunton and asked them what they care about, and a lot of it was self-interest. A lot of it was, how am I going to buy a house, and how am I going to afford to be able to live the life that I want to live. But a lot of it was also these very, very big, very serious issues that young people are going to face. And I think the challenge becomes telling them that if they don't have a say, these are the challenges that they're going to face, and they're not going to be the ones that have the voice. The former political science student in the back of my head is going to get very angry right now because I'm about to disagree with Jack Vowles. I have no stake in online voting, but the suggestion that online voting would be a person sitting in front of their computer by themselves is a really... it's the wrong way to look at how young people engage with the internet. I've sat down there and had... Thanks, Jen Zero. I've sat down the back there and I've introduced people by saying, you follow each other on Twitter. I've today, using my phone, organised 3 interviews with non-voters, with the kind of people you're trying to connect, and I've done it on Twitter. The other part to remember about that is that Twitter isn't everyone. Twitter is a very, very small percentage of the population, and we're not going to reach everyone through that. And that means that it's incumbent on us to get to places like churches, places like youth organisations, where they work, who they do. The survey that I mentioned earlier that we did this time last year, we asked them, are they planning to vote? And I just put this up because it's everything we know. Yes, some of them are. If you drill that down, 16 to 18-year-olds are significantly less likely to vote, but it counted 16-year-olds, so they can't, a lot of them can't, which is another much bigger question. And much the same as all the other research, Asian New Zealanders significantly less likely to vote. Stay-at-home parents, about 89% of them said they would vote. But another survey that was released last week from Colmar Brunton, done for Youthline, pointed out that 65% of young people get their information from the internet. And that was to do with mental health, but I think it's probably extrapolates. They're going to the internet to get their information. And if you're not there and you're not talking to them while you're there, because it can't just be a matter of you talking and expecting them to listen, then you're not going to get them.